studios of Time Warner Cable in partnership with the Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Forum 360, Global Outlook, Local View.
Welcome to Forum 360 on Neon, your Northeast Ohio network. I'm Leslie Ungar, your host today. We can look at Ohio through many different lenses. If you look at Ohio through a business lens, you could say it's halftime in Northeast Ohio. In the first half, we were the entrepreneurial leaders of the world, and then we were not. The game is not over. It's not over for the region, not for our companies, and not for our citizens. When we look at Ohio through the lens of its economy, Ohio would be the 20th largest global economy. You will find it of interest that the economy in Northeast Ohio is 20% bigger today than it was 20 years ago. This background is important to our topic, the landscape of business in Northeast Ohio, and our guest today, Scott Forster, co-owner, vice president, and COO, Magnus International Group. The easiest way to talk about Magnus is to use the word sustainable. Keeping that in mind, it's not surprising that Scott started as a lab chemist. What's interesting is that often the skills we correlate with a chemist are not the skills we connect to a COO. He holds an MBA from Baldwin-Wallace as he directs business development, human resources, and finance in his cutting-edge green company. Magnus International Group is engaged in businesses that transform vegetable oils and naturally derived emulsions, which he will tell us what that is, into sustainable global products. They have created groundbreaking systems for recovering raw materials otherwise cast aside. So welcome.
Thank you, Leslie.
You get the job today of being the mouthpiece for the business landscape of Northeast Ohio.
Fantastic.
And I know that you are.
I'm excited about that landscape.
Well, that in itself is very interesting to hear, because last week, David Gregory, the moderator of Meet the Press, was in Cleveland to moderate a panel. And then on the following Sunday on Meet the Press, he said, I was in Cleveland last week, and it's a city coming back, is what he said. So what do you tell people about the Cleveland and business?
Cleveland, or Northeast Ohio, has such a vast array of resources available to it. We have an excellent labor pool. There's so many opportunities in this area that I would certainly concur. The opportunities and what we've done at Magnus are endless in this area. Can you see them? Do you take advantage of them? I can tell you, Leslie, they're there.
Now, let me ask you, I imagine when you decided to start a business that you are from this area.
Correct, born and bred in Northeast Ohio.
Now, you could have stayed here as you did, or you could have gone off, seeking your fame and fortune in another part of the country. So why did you, put your stake in the ground and say, I'm going to start a business in Northeast Ohio?
There were so many opportunities right here, Leslie, and you're right. There are opportunities to go other places, to travel West Coast, go south. As I came through my business career, many of the businesses in Northeast Ohio were moving south, moving away from the unions, moving to the Carolinas. Yes. You've seen this, right?
Yes, a lot, in Akron, a lot of rubber companies went south.
And that's, as I got through college and entered the business arena and environment, that's what we were seeing. And yet there's so many opportunities right here in Northeast Ohio. So I've always asked myself, why would you take 4 steps away when you can take a half a step and land where you want to be?
And you wanted to be here because?
Family is here. That's a big part of it. Born and bred here. I have traveled all over the country. You look at what Northeast Ohio has to offer compared to anywhere, I'll put it up against anyone.
Now, the really important question, favorite team. If you're born and bred Northeast Ohio, who's your favorite team?
I would have to say Cleveland Indians.
The Indians?
Yes, in terms of the professional sports teams, I'm a big Indians fan. I remember going down to Municipal Stadium, growing up there. Christmas presents for us were opening season tickets for the Indians from Dad, and always a lot of fond memories of downtown.
Now, are you passing that on to your son?
Yes.
All right, good. How old was he when he had his first Indian paraphernalia?
4 actually, and has been to a number of games and have enjoyed them more and more each time.
Okay, that's very, very important. Now, I heard a speaker a couple weeks ago say that innovation, little or big, has no value until you have a customer sitting next to it. And meaning that, innovation is very important, but that entrepreneurial spirit of finding markets and selling product, is more important than the innovation. How do you at your company marry innovation and entrepreneurial spirit?
What a great question to ask, Leslie, because innovation in and of itself without a customer will get you nowhere. However, if you apply that innovation to solving problems for a customer's current or potential, now you have a recipe for success. So that innovation tied to solving problems for a customer is the key to that entrepreneurial flame beginning to grow and an opportunity to pursue or chase.
So really, a product has to solve a problem.
It does.
Right? In order for it to.
It does. And I mean, that's a thread throughout today in our conversation that I will continue to reiterate. If you're not solving a problem or fixing something or coming up with a new creative, globally sustainable solution for a customer, that's probably one of the main foundations and keys to our success.
Well, now, did you solve an existing problem? Or, like Steve Jobs, we didn't even know we needed an iPad, an iPod, an iPhone. We didn't even know we needed. We didn't even know we really had a problem, right?
Correct.
You think about dial-up computers. We thought that was pretty fast until, we learned that was too slow.
Correct.
And you couldn't have a dial-up. And then so it was kind of like they created a problem to solve. So did you go out and find a problem, or did you need to create a problem, let us know that there was a problem, and then solve it?
We more found the problem with the customer, and most of that, Leslie, was done through transitioning. And it's easier for me to give examples. I like things that I can grab onto. We worked with the nation's leading authority of a fire log manufacturer, and a company based out of California and in Kentucky. And we worked with them, and they wanted to develop an all-green, a natural fire log product. They saw an opportunity as the market presented itself to go green, right? We talked about when I started out of college and we saw things and companies shifting down south, and then you've seen this green movement, and I have opinions on that, and I'm sure we'll get into those with you a little bit later here, but they wanted to create an all-natural fire log. It was petroleum-based.
When you say fire log, you're talking about just a log for a fireplace?
Yes.
Okay.
The Duraflame Fire Logs is who we worked with. They're on our website. You can see them. Great business partner that we have. So going back to answer your question about the problem, they had a problem. They wanted to transition from petroleum-based fire logs to all-natural fire logs, to fire logs that are made of cast-aside salad dressings and cooking oils. And that's where we came in and we developed a product with them. And that was a process. And through innovation, we developed an all-natural wax that holds their fire log together. That's one of the products that we manufacture at Magnus International Group.
Now, let me go back. As I said in the introduction, we have kind of a vision when we think of a chemist. We kind of, I think, have a generalization that we think about. And that doesn't really kind of coincide with the qualities that we think about are needed in starting a business or leading a business. So how did you come about to have all of these qualities like in one person?
Wow, thank you for the compliment. It's a global viewpoint to take such as a chemistry background, an MBA, take those pieces and put them together and just use them as building blocks. The chemist was a great foundation for understanding what opportunities there are to recycle materials, how you would break an emulsion, which you said we'll get into a little bit later, how you have a material that's dissolves in water and be able to extract it back out, because one of the things that Magnus does through its green innovation is de-engineer things. People make a product and put a bunch of pieces together to make a product. We break it back down into its pieces and then use those pieces and products for customers. So that chemistry and the experience that I've had, and to create who sits in front of you today, was just a building block, one on top of another, to create more experiences to feed off of, to grow. And you take those experiences like a chemist and what you've done or seen in the lab, and you can apply that to a full-scale production operation, or you want to try something, or you solve that problem for Duraflame and creating that green, all-natural wax for them to use, and that comes into play. So it's building blocks that allow you to do that.
Now, how old were you when you got your first chemistry set?
11.
Were you always a kid that was interested in
always playing with things, taking things apart, take the toaster apart, play with the chemistry stuff, look at the remote control cars and all those things, and figure out how things work.
Now, let me ask you, how did you avoid, as a communication and leadership coach, I work with some engineers that, sometimes it's challenging for them to work in the business world rather than the academic because of that quest for perfection. And I always say that, our business world can't wait for perfection. By the time it's perfect, somebody else will have solved it. So how do you marry the chemist in you and the need to be able to get something to the marketplace and perhaps not be as perfect as the chemist might want to be, that just stays in the lab? How do you marry that chemist and the business? That's
such an insightful comment, because you learn as an entrepreneur, and to be successful, sometimes B work is okay. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that is such a great statement on your part. Mm-hmm. So how have I done that? I've surrounded myself with people that have showed me that we have a product that is still superior in the marketplace. We're a low-cost provider. Look at what we've done. Look at what we've offered. We do custom blends, custom formulations. Nobody else does that. So the answer to that is, I've surrounded myself with people that say, this is great. Scott, if you wait for perfection, and you said it, Leslie, if you wait for perfection, we're not going to get that product out. We've missed an opportunity. Somebody else will jump on board with some of the things that we're doing. You're absolutely correct. So it's being able to, and it is still hard to this day, and will probably be till the day I die, it is still hard to not do things perfectly. So that is inborn in my DNA. However, you learn that you could put a B product out, and you can be an industry leader, Leslie, with a B product. In a perfectionist
and
mind. Now, please, I don't want to degrade that, but in the context of what you said,
it's an A+++.
Yes.
Through your lens.
That's correct.
It's a B product.
So people that I work with in my organization help me to see that, along with a lot of customer interaction. When the customer comes in and tells you, Leslie, this is exactly what I needed,
then you stop.
Yes.
You stop.
Yes.
Right?
But it doesn't stop the innovation.
Yes.
And it doesn't stop continuing to improve and evolve and look at your metrics in the business, and that's inherent, right, when you're talking to that type of person.
Now, let me ask you, before we get to Magnus, I'm curious about something. We are fortunate that we do live in a region that does have an entrepreneurial spirit, but oftentimes a person that starts a company is a person that came up with the idea and they started it, but they don't have the ability to run the company. And so you will see then a next generation of leadership, or an outside leadership that comes in, because it's one quality to start something, and it's often a different kind of quality to maintain and to grow that company. So how did you manage to scan both of those, to both start this company yet be viable and stay with it as it grows?
I think I'm just blessed. I'm very, very blessed. I thank God for the skill sets and talents that I was given. And when you look at that and you tie that into the people that are around you and the customers that we've worked with and the problems that we've solved, it's been a natural evolution. And we've had to add personnel. You go from having a bookkeeper in your organization, Leslie, to having a true higher level CFO. So that's how you make that jump, and that is a challenge still today for us in Northeast Ohio as a growing entity, is to make that jump. A plant manager, again, I'm very much a tangible, hard example. You have a plant manager that maybe grew up with you through that course. You ultimately get to the point where you hire someone in that brings a fresh look to you, that takes your business up, not a level or two, but really 5 or 6, and just creates a different environment there, and they bring that. So it's hard because although I can be the heart and soul and the focus and the entrepreneur you talk about, in some ways my role diminishes a little bit because I have very, very talented people in the organization that are better at what they do than I am.
And you are. And that's got to be kind of hard to admit.
It is.
Look in that mirror and say that.
It is, but we're here to talk about how you achieve that success and what you can share with your viewers, and that's a very challenging intersection and crossroads for a business.
To know what you're good at and what somebody else is better at.
Yes.
But you need to know that.
You do.
Today we are talking with Scott Forster of Magnus International Group, a business located in Cuyahoga County?
It's Lake County.
Lake County,
yes.
Lake County. And we're looking at the business landscape in Northeast Ohio. Emulsion. Okay, but I'm going to ask emulsion first, then I'm going to go a little bit wider to green. But emulsion, I suppose it's a word I've heard, but I don't really know what it is.
Sure.
What is it, and why should I care?
A chemistry term where something is miscible or able to be dissolved in solution, namely water, that is our specialty, is removing organic material from water. Many industries produce co-products, wastes, you could say, but in the industry term is co-products. They produce something, they're manufacturing a product and they're left with something else, right? That's a co-product, and oftentimes that co-product is in the form of an emulsion. So there's valuable material in that emulsion that needs to be extracted from the water, and then you can make a product out of it. So we're separating the organic material from water. And I'm trying to think of a good example. Salad dressings are one that we have. When you put salad dressing on your salad, it's uniform. However, there's a lot of water in salad dressings. We will de-engineer, deconstruct, separate salad dressings into its parts. We'll remove the water, and then we'll take the other portion of that salad dressing and make a product out of it.
Such as? Such
as industrial wax, fire log or candle applications, such as all-natural fuel, to be burned instead of natural fuels, petroleum-based fuels. And right now our highest and best use and largest growth area is in the animal nutrition side. And we make natural animal feed ingredients or supplements from these products.
Now, why should we care? Why does your product that's made out of natural and the separation of the emulsions, why is that better for the animal or for us?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to answer that question, but for what you just asked, the movement that we're seeing and what we want to be a part of long-term, globally, sustainable to me is something that I can be involved in and be a part of that goes out into the future as far as I can see. And my son will know that that's still something we're working on. We are working to shift things to anything that we consume as a person, any animal that we consume as a person, the same standards will apply for the food that's prepared for you and I to eat as for those animals to eat. So anything they eat will need to meet food grade standards from a feed standpoint. So we are an industry leader, Leslie, in leading the charge to feed the animals natural food ingredients in their diet. We supplement their diet. So what we do is we make a product that they add to grain for dairy cattle.
Okay.
What does that do? It's like taking an all-natural supplement from GNC. They produce more milk. They don't require antibiotics. They're happier. They're able to eat more in the summertime when it's hot and they get lethargic. So it's just such a great situation, and it's a natural product. So they're not ingesting soap and other things that we don't want to even talk about that are going in.
Because then we ingest them.
That's
if we
exactly
eat them
right.
Or drink their milk,
either the milk or the meat that we eat through the animal.
Them.
So what we do to answer your question full circle is the material we take out of those emulsions, and why you should care is we have a quality system in place. We're very careful what we do. Certain things can only go into certain products we make. If it doesn't meet all the stringent requirements for animal feed, then we might make a wax out of it for fire logs, which is a non-critical application. And if we can't do that, we might make an all-natural fuel. So we're helping local industries. We're doing business with all kinds of guys locally, stofers, I mean, people we all know in our backyard, taking their co-products, recycling them into products, and putting them into the animal nutrition that we ultimately re-ingest or eat.
Now, when you say sustainable, what in your view, like how long does something have to last in order to be able to call it sustainable?
As far out as I can see. And what does that mean? 20 plus years.
Okay.
We love the animal feed business. We love where that's going. We love the natural fuel business and replacing petroleum-based products. And we certainly love the natural wax portion and candles being made out of natural, renewable, recycled materials. That's just a good model. And it's not a good model just because it's green. It's a good model because it makes sense.
And it makes sense because?
It makes sense because we're solving a problem for the people that have these co-products. They need to get rid of them.
Okay, so there comes the problem solving.
There's the problem. Do they put it in a landfill? Do they dispose of it in some other way? No, look at Magnus. I have a solution for you. Let me do something with it, with your material. So that's one piece of that process. We have the pots and pans in Painesville Township to make these. We're a manufacturing operation. You know, we add value to what we bring in, and then we ultimately sell a product that's a natural product. All natural.
Now, when you say green, a lot of people say green, and
yes,
it's kind of like natural,
right.
Or non-fat. It actually means we just put more different kind of fat in it, but it's non-fat. So when you say green, what does that mean?
I have a caveat to green, which is simply it needs to make good business sense. You can put up a wind turbine and lose money on operating it every day, but you're doing something green, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't fit our model. Mm-hmm. Green for us is using Lake Erie lake water that recycles through my plant as non-contact cooling water to cool down my equipment, putting in a retention pond and returning it to the lake, and not using water that we need for drinking or other purposes from a human consumption standpoint. Green is using the Lake County landfill methane gas that comes from the degeneration of the landfill. We use that to power our boilers in the plant to make steam. I'm not using natural gas. That makes good business sense. I can save money. It's good for Lake County. It's good for me. It's good for my customers. It's green.
So sustainable is as far as the eye can see, and green is when it makes good business sense. So.
Yes. Green is environmentally friendly. Let's remember that. But it needs to make good business sense. That's the caveat that.
So we've got sustainable and we've got green, making good business sense and good for the economy. So you've mentioned a couple times about working on an alternative to oil, gas for our cars.
Yes.
So how far out do you see till we are driving cars that are not dependent on oil that we often have to get from other countries?
It's coming.
In my lifetime?
Yes.
Okay.
It's coming. You will continue to see that. And what's going to happen, Leslie, is what I hope. There's going to be a problem for Magnus to solve in creating that fuel, in being a part of that process, in not just taking a purchased product and making another product, but recycling co-products, recycling materials that are otherwise
like for every
waste.
Product you have more co-products.
Let me be a part of that, you bet.
Okay. Now let me ask you, let me go back to when you started, because you started Magnus.
Correct.
One thing I'm curious about is you are COO.
Correct.
You're not CEO or CFO, you're COO, right? Chief Operations Officer. So how did you pick that title rather than a president or a CEO or a CFO?
Well, I have a wonderful business partner that we started and own the business 50-50, which is always, you say, is a challenge, right? There's even ownership.
There used to be a very successful businessman that used to say, take in dirty laundry before you take in a partner.
There you go.
So you must have picked well.
It's been a fantastic relationship. We're an excellent complement and balance to each other. But to answer your question, he is my senior in age, and we'll leave it at that, and we joke about that. We didn't much get into the titles. You've referred earlier in our conversations today about, when you're up and coming and you don't focus on a lot of those things. We didn't really get into the titles, so I kind of fell into that COO role. I'm the detail guy. You said that right out of the gate. It was one of your observations. It's spot on. My partner is more the visionary, the strategist, so the chief operating role.
It's a good combination.
It is a great combination, and we hired a CFO, so I can no longer have that role. So we're very informal along those lines.
Now, let me ask you, in in the minutes remaining, because this has gone so fast, I'm going to ask you for 2 or 3 word answers so I can get through actually some of the questions I prepared. What surprised you most? In a couple words, what surprised you most about starting a business?
That you need to be prepared for anything.
And if you had to identify one of your greatest accomplishments at Magnus International Group, what would it be?
I would say getting through the last couple of years, Leslie, through the very, very, very tough economic times.
And what advice would you have for someone out there either starting or still struggling in this time period? What advice would you have for someone when it doesn't go the way you had planned it?
Ask for help.
Ask for help. What's been one, besides the economy, what's been one of your greatest roadblocks?
Is not getting too spread out, staying focused, and not doing too many things.
And how did you stop from getting too spread out? How did you overcome that roadblock?
That has been a conscious decision that we actually have to do every day, because the opportunities that are presented to us
Could spread you out.
They could still.
You know, in pro sports, Michael Jordan once said that, you know, basketball is really a game played between the ears. It's much a mental game. You know, how as an entrepreneur do you stay mentally fit and intellectually up to date on things, and know what's going on in your profession and stay physically fit? And how do you manage all of that as you're leading this company?
It's just to maintain a balance, Leslie. It's try to maintain the balance between your family and business and religious beliefs, and that's how I'm able to do it. I work on that balance every single day, and it's a challenge.
If you had one business do-over, what would it be?
Make sure we had enough capital and money. I don't have to hesitate on that one.
Yeah. What do you wish that you had known when you were starting out?
Boy.
Or let me ask it a different way. What are you glad you didn't know?
Ignorance is bliss.
Yes.
There was no other road for us but success. And so I would say I don't wish I knew anything else. The journey has been absolutely fantastic, very challenging but fantastic, but ignorance is bliss.
What, in a few words, what do you wish that people in Northeast Ohio knew about the business landscape in Northeast Ohio?
Open their eyes, take a look around, look at the resources we have here. Painesville Township, for 1 second on that, has been so business friendly to us, helped us in so many ways. Leslie, everything you need is right here. People, resources, opportunities, customers, they're all right here. Don't go 4 steps away when you can look right in your backyard.
If your crystal ball worked, and I often say that, our crystal ball never works, but if your crystal ball worked and you looked out, 20, 30, 40, 50 years for your company and your industry, what, in a few words, would you see?
I would guess that we wouldn't even be doing what we're doing today. That things would have evolved, and if you and I had this interview 5 years ago, I wouldn't even know, these new products that are coming today. So I would say
So you've really been open to where...
we won't even be doing what we're doing today.
Because there'll be different problems to solve.
Absolutely, and I want to be a part of that.
And you want to be problem solving in a sustainable field with green and products that make sense.
Absolutely beautiful, yes.
Thank you. Today, COO Scott Forster of Magnus International shared with us what he sees in the business landscape of Northeast Ohio. What he sees and what he does is important to all of us. The jobs, the economy, the bragging rights for Ohio to once again be first at something. Business in Ohio has had its ups and downs. Listening today, you can see that it's only halftime and we have a half to go. You could say that so goes business in Ohio, so goes Ohio. Our guest today is doing everything that he and Magnus can to ensure Ohio's future at the end of the game. Thank you to Scott Forster, Magnus International. I'm Leslie Ungar for Forum 360 on Neon, your Northeast Ohio network. Thank you for joining us today.